Yes, my people, what is going on, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So in today's video, as we are sitting around 3 weeks post-show, I thought I would do a little bit of a kind of post-season recap, just to kind of round up my thoughts on the season, run through some of the results, and also to discuss my plans of action moving forward, and what I'm going to be looking to do over the next off-season and as we head into the next competitive season. So first of all, I'm going to run through the results. Oh, smooth transition, that one, even though we're now in the darkness instead of being in the bright, but it's really sunny outside, so I had to block it. So successful season, I am pretty happy with it. Obviously, we could have done a little bit better, but overall, my thoughts from this season are, I stand exactly where I kind of thought I would stand, okay? So PCA Manchester, second place in the novice bodybuilding category. PCA Ireland, second place in the novice bodybuilding category. Thought this one was a fair result. Thought this one was a little bit dodgy, as I would have ran through in a previous video. And then we've got the Two Bros MK Classic, which was actually my first show. So there, I took third place in the novice bodybuilding category, fifth place in the open heavyweight category, and first place in Classic Physique Class C category. So I did place in every single, class, I suppose, that I actually done. And consistently enough within the kind of top three. There was only one result outside the top three, and that was in the open heavyweight bodybuilding category, which, I knew I was going to be out of the top three in that category. I still know I'm a long way off, like muscle mass wise, to be kind of hanging with the big boys in that category. So, I still got first call outs, still placed and got a medal. So still pretty happy with that result. Now, this year, I did think I was good enough to win a novice bodybuilding category. Like I really did, right? Third at the MK Classic, Mark Hodson and Taylor James Johnson came ahead of me. So two incredible bodybuilders. Taylor actually went on to win the overall in that show. So I was actually really happy with that third place, as the two guys who bet me are just incredible bodybuilders in their own right. So, that was a really, really competitive novice bodybuilding category. And if anything, probably the best novice bodybuilding category, I think, personally anyway, out of all the Two Bros shows I've seen this year. Then the two PCA shows, so I think there was 4 competitors at the Ireland show and 6 competitors at the PCA Manchester show. So, I went up against a fair few guys, and there was only one guy who kind of bet me in neither of those categories. So, whilst I didn't get the win, I was fucking there or thereabouts. You know what I mean? I just think I needed a little bit more size in certain areas. And again, you can always be in better condition, but I think that's kind of something that does come with size and with time as well. But overall, really happy with how I kind of stacked up, in those novice bodybuilding categories as a novice bodybuilder. As this is only my second season ever, and it was my first time competing in the bodybuilding category, because I did Classic Physique for my first timers show. Which brings me on to the next category. Okay, so Classic Physique Class C win. Now, I entered this like 3 weeks out from the actual show itself, and it was only because so many people were saying it to me, like, as I was getting leaner, you look really classic, why don't you do classic? I think you look more classic than you do a bodybuilder, etc, etc. Now, I still do think I'm not the most classic bodybuilder, but I'm a lot more fucking classic than a lot of guys I see, doing the Classic Physique class these days. And I do think I have potential within the Classic Physique category. I really do, okay? And obviously, to be an open bodybuilder and to be a pro open bodybuilder, which is ultimately my long-term goal, to be a pro bodybuilder, that just takes a fucking lot of time. I'm not genetically gifted in terms of building muscle mass. Like, I can't pack on muscle mass really, really quick, like guys who have really good genetics do that. I have to work really hard, I have to be super on it, and I can gain a decent amount of muscle mass, but it really takes time. And I know for me to be a pro, I think I have the shape, I think I have the structure, I think I have the mindset and the work ethic, but I just need to put in the time. Now, obviously, for me to be an open pro, that might take a lot of fucking time. And also, I don't know yet, am I going to be limited to how much size I can put on? Like, do I just work really hard and eventually, the size will just come? Or at some point, is it really going to stall? Am I going to slow down? Is it going to be a major struggle for me to get to the level of size and muscle mass I need to be an open pro? I don't know yet until I put up the time. But I really feel like to be a classic physique pro, and looking at like a lot of the pro qualifiers and the amateur shows and where the guys are at, and you know, their structure and their shape, I think the gap for me there is much, much smaller. And I think I can close that gap within the next kind of 2 to 4 years, 100%. And I think that is what the plan of action is going to be for this off season moving forward. Okay, so I'm really torn, as I love the bodybuilding class, I love the open bodybuilding class, but I also really like the classic physique division as well. And originally when I signed up with Kuba, I was like, this is my plan, I'm going to take 2 year off season, I'm going to compete, you know, in classic physique. And that was always my intention. And he said, no, you know, I don't think you've got classic shape, I think you should do the bodybuilding category. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just crack on into my off season, because no matter what class I do, I need the fucking size, okay? I need to gain some size. And that's what I did. And I came back and I stepped on stage, and it was funny because I had just in my mind, I'm doing bodybuilding, I'm doing the novice bodybuilding category, then I'm going to go back into the off season, I'll compete in heavyweights, etc. And then the classic things started kind of playing at my mind a couple of weeks out, and I was kind of liking how I was looking in a lot of the classic poses, and you know, I was fancying myself to do pretty well within that division. And the feedback that I've gotten this year, you know, from a lot of people on Instagram, you know, friends, etc. I know you can't really take your friends' word from it. People who've been at the shows, even the judges themselves, it's kind of leaning a lot towards classic, like more so than I actually anticipated. You know, my feedback from the Two Bros judges was that even when I came out for the bodybuilding category, they thought I had a really good classic look. And obviously, you know, I won my class at that show, and I went into the overall, and I was in the middle of the overall at the start, and then they moved me out to the side, but then they moved me back into the middle again. So, you know, I don't know where they just, you know, comparing, you know, the two guys who I thought were ahead of me in that. Like, I thought I was like third maybe out of 4 people in that overall, because obviously, you know, Jack Eagles, who's now a pro, and Pierce Gorich, who's an incredible bodybuilder, were ahead of me, and I think it was kind of between the two of them for that overall. But they did move me around a nice bit, so that was kind of, you know, promising to see. You know, maybe I'm just overthinking it there, but you know, they did move me around a little bit. I feel like they were taking a good look at me, and you know, my feedback from them was that I had a good classic look. So, you know, I can't really ignore that. Even if like Kuba thinks I'm not the most classic bodybuilder, or even if I think I'm not the most classic bodybuilder myself, you can't really be like looking at the, you know, top 10 or top 15 at the Olympia who have like incredible shape, incredible structures, and they're like the definition of classic. You can't really look at those guys at the pro level and compare yourself to them, because classic bodybuilding at an amateur level is very, very different than at a pro level. And even, you know, at an entry level kind of pro physique in classic, a lot of those guys don't have incredible shape and structure and incredibly small waists, etc. You know, classic physique for me is kind of more of a spectrum than like this fucking absolute dream ideal look, and that certainly seems to be the way it's going. You know, you see a lot of guys winning classic physique pro shows, and people are going mad in the comments on Bodybuilders Without Borders or whatever, being like, oh, people don't know how to separate between classic and bodybuilding, yada yada yada, etc etc. So I think heading into this off season, I'm still going to focus obviously on just putting on as much size as possible. You know, there is a big 10 kg gap there that I need to close regardless of what class I do, because if I do classic physique class C, again, my lowest weight of prep up to my classic physique class C class, there's 10.75 kg in the difference there, okay? And if I'm able to win a classic physique class C class and not look too out of place in an overall lineup, imagine what I'm going to look like when I put on 10 kg of lean muscle, you know? So like that thought in my mind is like it's just playing there. And I think even in the bodybuilding classes, you know, if I put on 10 kg of muscle, I'm not going to look out of place in a fucking heavyweight lineup. Like I know that, like I definitely won't. So my plan is still to compete in both classes, but potentially closer to the time, I may have to be a little bit careful about what I'm going to do with shows, etc. Because if the goal is to max out my classic cap and potentially look at doing a run of pro qualifiers and seeing where I stand in terms of am I good enough to, you know, get a pro card after 2 years of an off season and closing that gap and putting on that 10 kg of tissue, then I'm going to have to probably focus more heavily on classic. Like I don't think going to the MK Classic like I did and doing the novice bodybuilding and then doing the heavyweight class and then stepping on stage for classic later on that afternoon would be a smart idea if I was to do that at a fucking pro qualifier. You know, I'm not going to go to a pro qualifier and compete in the heavyweights to try and see can I win a class and go in, you know, to a pro card lineup, and then later on that day, you know, do the exact same for classic. I think I'd have to just focus on one so that I'm not like fucking coming off stage after being in the heavyweights, really after fatiguing myself, maybe not have even won my class at all, and then be stepping on and trying to bring my A game for the classic. You know what I mean? So the plan for me after this next off season is to, you know, compete at pro qualifiers and see where I stand and see how far away I am from getting a pro card. I'm not going to say I'm going to get a pro card in 2 years' time, but obviously you have to have the mindset and the goal that is what you're going for, and that is what I'm going for. You know, I would ideally like to see myself at a pro worthy standard in classic physique in 2 years' time, and that's just what I'm going to aim for. Okay, you got to have those big goals. You got to work hard. I think I have to have that sense of urgency as well, because in my mind, I'm still 4 to 6 years away from, you know, turning pro as an open bodybuilder, in my opinion, if I can keep up the rate of progression that I have seen, you know, over the last kind of 3 to 4 years. And knowing that, being realistic, knowing that, it doesn't give me as much of a sense of urgency with my goals. And that's not to say that I still wouldn't be getting the job done, but if I head into this next off season and I'm like, right, I've got 18 months, I've got 3 push-ups to close the gap, to try and fucking battle it out for a pro card, I know I'm going to be attacking this off season with a whole other level of drive and determination and intensity and work ethic. That's just, you know, we're all human. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? So I feel like this next off season, I need to apply that pressure to myself and have that like make or break mentality, being like, right, this is it. This is when you make it happen. This is when you close the gap. This is fucking what you're going for. You know, I did my first timers show or season 3 years ago. I've really dipped my toes in it this year now. I've done multiple shows. I've gotten decent placements, but this off season is going to be the one, and that next prep, you know, is going to be the one as well in my mind, where I really fucking go for it, and I really see where I'm at. And you know, maybe it doesn't happen and I don't turn pro in 2 years' time, that after putting in a huge off season and gaining fucking 10 kilos of tissue. That's okay, but I think I'll be really, really fucking close regardless. And I'm not going to need to dip into an off season for, you know, another fucking 2 years again. It's going to be much shorter. It's going to be a year after that. It's going to be 8 months and then compete again, like I've seen a lot of other people who are very close to pro cards do. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. You know, they are my plans moving forward. I haven't spoke to Kuba yet about my main goal being to be a classic physique pro, but I'm sure he'll warm to it and he'll come around to it. And look, myself and Chloe are going to be moving to Rotherham very soon, Ultraflex Rotherham. You know, I'm going to be in that gym, training there full time. I'm going to be closer to Kuba. You know, I'm going to be training with Meg as my training partner, probably be on a completely new split. So it's going to be super fucking exciting. It's going to be good, and it's just going to be like a full fucking training camp for this off season. You know, I'm going to take 2 years away from stage. I'm not going to take 2 years of an off season. It's going to be 18 months off. So 3 push-ups, 3 long 6-month push-ups ideally, and then prep again, aiming to compete this time next year. So September and October shows, or maybe even a little bit earlier, because there's a lot of international pro qualifiers that are on before September. So that's going to be the rough plan of action, guys. Kuba said to me, he thinks we'll put on 20 pounds in 12 months. I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, you know, I'm going to work as fucking hard as I possibly can to make that happen. But I do think I need 18 months to close that gap. You know what I mean? I think I took 3 years off before, and I put on that amount of tissue. I definitely think I could put on that amount of tissue in half the time this time, which would be 18 months. But could I do it in 12? I don't know. You're going to have to stay tuned. You're going to have to wait to see, and you're going to have to follow along to find out if I actually do. But in my mind, you know, I started this prep at 108 kilos. I think I peaked in the off season at 110 kilos. So for me, I need to see myself and I need to see my physique leaner than it was when I hit that 110 kilos, but at like 120 kg to know for sure that I have put on that 10 kg of muscle. You know, I was 95 kg this morning, so it's a long fucking way away from 120 kg in relatively good body composition. You know, that's 25 kg away. Now, when I start my next push-up, I do think I'll probably be 115 kg at the end of that, I do think I'll put on, you know, quite a lot, or not 115 kg, but somewhere between 110 to 115 kg by like the end of like April. Like I definitely think this first push-up is going to be fucking a big one. It's going to almost be like a rebound off the back of this show, because I'm going to maintain this good lean level of body composition now, get my body nice and recovered, run devolume sessions for the next couple of weeks, and then the week I fucking move to Rotherham, we're back on blast, we're on a new training program, and then it's just fucking push up from there. So I really do think the response is going to be immense off the back of that, and then we'll assess after the first push up. You know, I'm going to push things a little bit harder this off season as well, I imagine. So yeah, I'm really fucking looking forward to it. But my plans moving forward, 18-month off season, 6-month prep, and we'll see where we land. We see, are we going to be pro worthy at that stage, guys? So I feel like I'm doing a lot of rambling in this video. You know, I've been procrastinating recording this video for the whole fucking week, to be honest, as I'm only kind of starting to feel properly human again the last 2 or 3 days. But I did want to get a little bit of a kind of wrap up of the season up, and the plans moving forward. So season was good, guys. You know, I am pretty fucking happy with it, to be honest. You know, looking at these now, obviously I haven't laid them all out together since the shows. They literally just got dumped in a fucking bag and dumped in the corner of my room. But now that I'm looking at them, you know, I'm kind of like, not bad, pretty decent. You know, could have been better, could have been some more goals in there, like that first place in that classic physique class C. I can't count that as a win. So it's almost a good thing and a bad thing, because I really fucking wanted a win this year, you know, and I thought I was good enough to get a win, but that's bodybuilding, guys. That's just the fucking way it goes. So in my mind, I haven't gotten a win because I only bet one other guy in that classic physique class C class. Do I think if there was more guys there, I would have bet them? Yes, but looking at the standard of some other Two Bros shows over the course of the year, there was a lot of guys in the class C category that would have easily bet me as well. I still think I would have been, you know, 1, 2 or 3 at all of those shows, but I wouldn't have been winning every single one of them, because again, I'm so fucking far away from my class C cap, and there's a lot of fucking bigger guys out there doing those classes that would have bet me, that would have been better than me. So, you know, shape and structure, I think is definitely there. Like the guy I bet at the MK Classic, I think he was like top end of the cap, but I think I just bet him on like shape and condition and structure and stuff like that. So, you know, I think the potential is there. Just got to max out this fucking frame, guys. And look, hopefully as well next season, we might stack up pretty well in the heavyweights, and you know, I might get a win there. Like that is still going to be a fucking goal. Like the goal is just going to be to win. The goal is going to be to win all the classes. It's going to be to clean up. You know, I want to be at the standard where I can win classes at a fucking pro qualifier the next time I step on stage. So until I feel like I am ready to do that, I will not be competing again. You know, I think it's going to take me 18 months. I don't think it's going to be 12 months, but 12 months, 18 months, even if I have to do another push-up, but it would pain me to do it, and take a full 2-year off season and then compete, I'll just fucking do that. Because the next time I'm going to compete, you know, I'm not fucking playing games. I'm going to compete to win, to be at a high standard, to be at the standards that I hold myself to. You know, my expectations are quite high, my goals are quite high, so it's just time to make it happen now, guys. So apologies for the long video, but appreciate it if you made it this far. Keep following along for the journey, guys. We are nearly going to be entering the off season, so stay tuned for that, as it's going to be a fucking good one. I'm going to document absolutely everything, show you that there is no off season. It is all a fucking on season. We stay locked in. You know, we'll put on this 10 kg of muscle. I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that. Follow you along, all the training, all the food, everything else, and hopefully, guys, we'll be back in this position in 2 years' time with a much more impressive array of trophies and medals. So thank you guys for watching. We will catch you in the next one. Speak soon.